So what did God have to say about it all? One of the great places to find out is in Exodus chapter 20. I seriously suggest you go read Exodus chapter 20 for yourself. If people spent as much time reading the Bible as they do reading about it, I wouldn't have to make so many of these videos. Anywho, Exodus chapter 20. It's the 10 Commandments as given to Moses by God. Because of the various Sunday school cartoons and other movie depictions we've all seen, we tend to imagine Moses wandered down the mountain and said, "Okay, guys, listen up. I've come up with 10 rules for all of you. And after a very successful PowerPoint presentation, God signed off on them. He's approved my 10-level goodness plan. I'm going to read them out loud now, and we'll have a brief Q&A. And then I expect you to start putting this into effect by the middle of next week at the latest." The chapter actually starts with this rather significant phrase, "And God spoke all these words, I am the Lord your God." God is doing the talking here, and one of the things that he says is this: "For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but he rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy." It really doesn't get any clearer than that. God, speaking to Moses and company, says they will work 6 days and rest for 1 day for a 7-day work week, and explains why by saying it was 6 days of creation and 1 day of rest for a total of 7 days. When you compare this to Genesis 1, you'll start to see some similarities. Both say it was 6 days of creation and 1 day of rest. I feel like I'm talking down to you, even explaining this, but some people really can't see this. To me, this is like showing you the ingredients for a chocolate cake to prove that chocolate cake has chocolate in it. I don't mind doing it, but I know someone is going to write me a snotty note that says,
"Days don't have to be days. They can be something else, like overlapping epochs of vast amounts of time. And maybe that cake is named after someone named Cake, like Chef Gordon Chocolate. Stop being so close-minded and divisive."
This is how some people argue. And on Twitter, these are the smarter ones. Some people will try to claim that there is not intended to be a day-by-day comparison here, which to me strains credulity. I mean, God actually makes the day-to-day comparison. 6 days and 1 day to 6 days and 1 day. He didn't bless a 7th undefined very long period of time. He blessed the 7th day. To me, this is pretty hard to mess up. The old earth creationists try to say God intended this merely to be a numerical comparison. This fails for a couple of reasons. First, why does God need to make a numerical comparison? Surely the children of Israel were smart enough to understand the concepts of 6 and 1 without some kind of clever analogy. And if that's all this is, why does he not do it again when he makes decrees involving 6 years and 1 year? Exodus 23, 10, 11, he says, "For 6 years you are to sow your fields and harvest the crops, but during the 7th year let the land lie unplowed and unused." No reference to creation is made for this 6-to-1 ratio. In fact, verse 12 references the work week and Sabbath day, making a literary work 6, rest 1 parallel, but not a day-for-day comparison. In Exodus 21, another 6 years and then on the 7th reference is made, but again, no reference to days or creation. Several of these are made in Leviticus 25, but again, no reference to creation week or mention of days as a metaphor for years. What is the point of doing it just that once in the middle of the 10 Commandments unless it actually means what it says? In fact, why would God say something he doesn't mean? I didn't know God back then, but from what I can tell, he has always been a most honest gentleman with no need to lie to anyone. Not only that, but I suspect it well within reason to suppose that God was very familiar with the Hebrew language, him being omniscient and all. If this is so, then he would have known that there are other Hebrew words for long periods of time, so that he wouldn't have to use the word day to mean billions of years. But we'll talk more about that soon. And the final call is this. Unless you assume deep time at the start and are trying to cram it into the Bible, there is no reason to try to interpret Exodus 20 to mean billions of years, or just some pointless metaphor. There's also no reason to try to interpret Genesis 1 in this manner either. We can just let day mean day. But there is one more objection before we get all that grammatical. Some people will still try to argue that, while he is very honest, God simply doesn't understand how time works. Then they try to use the Bible to make this argument. Before I get into that, I need to practice not rolling my eyes. In the meantime, check out the resources at A Bit of Orange Academy. Thanks for liking and subscribing, and remember, Jesus loves you.